place I'd rather. Yeah. Exactly. Ready? Welcome, everyone. Today is the Monday, February 10th edition of the Hermiston City Council and Urban Renewal Agency. It's again 7 p.m. I would ask everybody that in attendance, if you have not done so, please silence your cell phones. It can be a little bit distracting. We do have a quorum. Councilor Meyer is excused. And at this time, join me in the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Smith, do we have any changes to the agenda? Outstanding. Okay, so right off the bat, citizen input for non-agenda items. This is your opportunity to speak to the council on any items that are not on the agenda. You are asked to do the following. Please limit your comments to not more than 5 minutes. State your name and address and address your comments to me. So, anybody wish? Step forward.
My name is Kelly Finch, and I live at 1005 South First Street here in Hermiston. Sorry, I'm very nervous speaking in front of an audience.
Okay, we're just people.
I'm here tonight to speak about the four-way stop down in front of, or down by the high school, just down south or north of my house. A couple of weeks ago, a young person was hit crossing that street. I was not a witness to it. I wasn't there. However, I know for a fact that when school is in session, it is very hard on both the students crossing the streets and the drivers. The students, unfortunately, have a very bad tendency not to stop and make eye contact with the drivers. The drivers get impatient and they start creeping out into that cross without taking into consideration that it's against the law if students are still crossing the street. We need a stop signal, a traffic signal there, really bad, because while the student was hit and it didn't take his life, my husband and I worry about it every single day that a student is going to lose their life there. And also, we've spoken with police officers about this, but there's a lot of drivers who, once they start up First Street from that four-way stop headed south, they hit the gas and they don't care that the speed limit's only 25 miles per hour there. People coming down off that hill on First Street, they come flying down it. We see them at 5 in the morning. That's when my husband and I get up. We see them at 8 in the morning. We see them at noon. We see them at 7 o'clock at night, all day long. They're flying up and down First Street. And we, like I said, we've spoken with the police officers in the past about maybe patrolling that a little bit more at various times during the day. But it really, really needs some officers there. And if you decide not to put the stoplight up at that four-way stop, can we make it mandatory that there are crossing guards to stop traffic and stop students from crossing at will? Thank you all for giving me the chance to speak.
Thank you. Hello, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and City Council. My name is Dean Hackett. My wife and I have been residents in Hermiston for almost 18 years. I pastored Living Faith Church here in Hermiston for almost 16 years. And I am the founder and president of Spirit Life Ministries International, which is headquartered here. And we do pastoral coaching, mentoring, as well as facilitate ministries in Croatia, Bosnia-Herzegovina, and other nations of the world. I've also been privileged to serve on a couple of the committees for our city. It's been an honor to do that. My traveling has required me to step away from those two. I hope in the future I can do it again because we really, really love our city and love being here. I'm going to read my comments tonight, so I stay within the 5-minute session. I stand here before you addressing a concern regarding the new business license ordinance that began January 1, 2025, as it relates to churches and religious organizations. I wrote an email to each of you explaining in detail my concern. I shared with you the history of the issue and the motivation behind the establishment of the First Amendment clause in the Constitution of the United States of America. Quote, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, or the right of people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. I'll not reiterate the points I shared with you in the email, except to express my grave concern. The authority to license is the authority to regulate, dictate, and control. I recognize churches and Christian ministries are not required to pay the business license fees, but you do require them to register. This, in and of itself, is a violation of the First Amendment. You may say, don't they register as a 501c3 nonprofit organization and as a nonprofit entity within the state of Oregon? Yes, they do so for the purpose of donations being tax deductible. They do not have to register to become a church or to function as a church in the United States of America or the state of Oregon. That is the significant and critically important fine line being crossed. It was stated at a meeting with a faith-based advisory committee, you have no intention of seeking to regulate, dictate, or to control churches and religious institutions. Further, it was assured there's no plan to strong-arm the churches that resist registration. However, this initial step paves the way for the future administrations and leaderships to take such steps. You cannot remove the fact that the authority to register is the authority to regulate, dictate, and control. I recognize that I'm but one of few pastors expressing my concern. Most pastors in the city have no issue with the licensing requirements whatsoever. However, does the fact that the majority of pastors having no issue or and that I'm standing here alone tonight making an appeal to you change the facts and make it justifiable to ignore the right decision? I humbly ask you to please make an amendment to the regulations and exclude churches and religious organizations from having to register as a business in this city. Again, thank you, Mayor Primer. Thank you, City Council members, for reading my email, and Mr. Smith for this privilege. I'm open to responding to any questions that you may have, either tonight or by email. Thank you again for the time.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening. My name is Michelle Monroe from 32686 Diagonal Road. I'm here on behalf of the Friends of the Hermiston Public Library. We are the 501c3 who brings in donations for our wonderful library. And with the remodel, we are looking at adding 2 art pieces to the library, and we're looking for help from our city to help us with a read across Hermiston. It's a readathon. This is our 4th annual readathon, where we have continuous reading from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. We have community members who volunteer to read for 20-minute segments, and during that time, we open it up to donations from the community. I have sent a postcard to each of you in December, seeing if you were able to read during this time. The Next Chapter bookstore is graciously giving their location for us to do our readathon this year, since our library is being remodeled. And so we're looking for 1, donations, and 2, we're looking for readers who would like to read for about 20 minutes during this time on March 1st, Saturday, March 1st at the Next Chapter bookstore. I do have a handout here or a flyer for anybody who would like one. I can leave one with Lily so that you can get the new website that we have. The donations that we're trying to get during this time, and it'll be open up on our donation site, is $50,000. We are going to bring in a 5x4 light Zilla. It's a large 5-foot by 4-foot light bright that will hang on the wall and have large pegs to do an interactive arts display for anybody in the community. And then also a statue that's about 5 feet tall that will be outside of the library. It is a picture of a child sitting on top of a bunch of books reading it. So we're going to replace what was previously in front of the library with a new fixture. So we're asking if you're interested in reading or donating, please check out our website and sign up to read. Thank you.
Could you give us the website?
Well, it's hermistonlibraryfriends.org. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other citizen input? Seeing none, we will move on to the consent agenda. So we're changing up the order in which we're doing this a little bit. So consent agenda items A through I. Is there any public comment on consent agenda items A through I? Seeing none, are there any council comments? Do we need to remove any items from the consent agenda? Seeing none, can I get a motion to approve consent agenda items A through I?
So moved.
Second.
Been moved by Councilor Duran, seconded by Councilor Roberts. Roll call.
No. Wait, roll call. Oh, yes, sorry.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously, 7-0. No items were removed from the consent agenda items. Moving on to the upcoming governance-related items for discussion. City Manager Smith.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, in your recent goal setting, there were 2 items that are to be included in the final report that I wanted to kind of get a little bit of a jump on, just because they could take a little extra time, and so Those are the 10-year charter review and then the reexamination of the council committees, boards, and advisory groups structure. And so just want to give a little bit of background about my approach, and then I'm looking for feedback if there's other things the council would be looking for or other methods in the process. Please let me know during this time, and then we can get working and preparing for these. So first, with the charter review, if the council were to want to make any changes, that those would need to be, or propose any changes, those would need to be approved by the voters. So working towards the goal of a November 2025 election date, and would be the kind of the process that I would recommend. And then kind of generally that the council would review this in potentially one or two, probably two or three publicized work sessions, so before a normal council meeting, then taking what the council was considering and looking at out to the public in at least a couple of open house, town hall, something like that, meetings with the public, and then also using whatever tools we could, maybe some kind of a survey tool online or something like that to hit another group of folks, with then that returning to the council in time to be approved and placed on the ballot in November if there were proposed changes. So I guess with that, that'd be the first point. I'd like to get any feedback or any suggestions or ideas for changes on that process.
Councilor Linton?
I would like to know what election is coming up in November 25.
Well, that's a normal election date. I believe, I mean, I don't know what particular offices are there, but that every year in November there's election.
Oh, okay.
It's
right.
an off cycle from, presidential or congressional elections, but it is an election date every year.
Councilor Roberts?
What date would we need to have our suggestions done by in order to get it on the ballot?
I believe it's in August when we need to have those submitted.
Okay, thank you.
And that's part of my reasoning to kind of move that up in the year so we make sure we hit that date.
So just for the explanation, the charter for the city of Hermiston is basically our constitution. It's what we base what we do and the rules that the city operates under. So public input is definitely going to be taken into account. We, again, we'll have the sessions, we'll have work sessions on it as we decide whether there are things in there that whether we want to change them or not. As a council, we will look at each one of the articles of the Constitution, of the charter, to see whether or not they're, are they still relevant? Do they still do what we need them to do? Is there anything that we wish to change? And then the public will also have the opportunity to look at that and see whether there's things in there that they wish to change. So that will be an opportunity to set the course of the city. So at this point in time, if the council has any suggestions and any direction, please forward those to the city manager for discussion at a later session.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Then for the council committee kind of structure process, looking at inviting 3 to 4 council committee chairs to come to work sessions and kind of outline to the council the things that they're each working on. I know, each of you are liaisons to different committees, but this will be a chance to kind of get a handle or get a feel for what some of the other committees are working on, and do those over time. Once we've kind of looked at all of the existing committees, then set up a discussion in a work session about, any possible modifications. Do we want to change the goals of a certain committee? Do you want to eliminate a committee? Do you want to add a committee? Any of those types of things. Just, I think it's, I mean, I don't know that we've done it in 10 years really as far as a look at them. We did kind of go through the ordinance and kind of clarify some, some of the, how many members on this committee or that committee, but nothing about kind of the goals and the purpose of each committee. So this will be a chance to kind of take a fresh look at all of those. And so once that's been done, then, if there are any proposed changes, then we would bring back after that ordinances or whatever documents that the council would need to approve to enact any of those changes.
So this is one of those things that I was near and dear to my heart. So, because during the time that I've been on the council, we've not really done anything of that nature. The whole idea is to make sure, again, our county, the committees that we have are relevant to the goals and desires of us as a council, and whether they're relevant to what, the business of the city. So, there may be committees that are no longer necessary. There may be committees that we decide need to be brought up. A new committee maybe need to be, the whole idea is to get the input so that we can get the right people to give us, good information to move ourselves forward. And so, this is most committees are composed of citizens as opposed to council members. There's only a couple of council-only committees, and those are almost statutory. So, the idea behind those is to, behind all the committees is to help us make the decisions that we need to make on a daily or weekly basis, as it were. So, keep those things in mind. If you have an idea for a committee, again, forward those to city manager and myself, and we'll take a look at what we can do.
Yep.
So that about it?
On that item, that's it.
Okay. All right, so, do we have any public comment in regards to that item? Council comments? Counselor.
City Manager Smith, I think it would be useful, and maybe this is already your intention behind this process, is similar to our extensive review of the city departments, if similar kind of structure could be functioned that way, because I think for many councilors, just not many of us knew what the process was of even the departments here. So a similar structure like that, I think, would be very helpful, especially with a lot of new faces or newer faces to when some of these were founded.
Yeah, that's the plan, to kind of lay out the basics of the committee, have the committee chair come and talk about what they've been working on recently, and then, have a dialogue.
Councilor Roberts?
With the number of people from the public attending tonight, which is awesome, I love seeing the gallery full. I think it's worth just noting that we do have openings on our current committees, and I would encourage everybody to take a look at the website, see what committees are open. I know there's some on the Airport Advisory Committee. We just filled some tonight on the consent agenda, but I think there's some other committees that have openings. It's very important to get that public feedback. I started my time on a committee, and I just encourage the public to get involved, see what your city's doing. It's an easy way to lend your voice. It's not a huge time commitment. And so if you don't have the time, tell your friends, but we'd love to have those committee vacancies filled.
Any other comments? Seeing none. Next item. Pickleball complex naming agreement. City Manager Smith.
Yes, so our pickleball committee has been very active in securing donations to build the pickleball complex. And they've started construction. There's dirt work. If you're out, go by the park there and take a look at it. And but part of those donations also included some naming rights that some of the organizations that are making those contributions. And so tonight before you, it would be, just last year we adopted a policy that kind of governed this. And so This will be the first time the council's approved an agreement under that new policy. But for a donation of $100,000, the Good Shepherd Healthcare System would like to enter into an agreement with the city for the naming rights of that complex, which would officially be the Good Shepherd Healthcare System Pickleball Complex, which we all know will get shortened to something else by the people who are using it. But those are really the basic terms of the agreement. We will work in combination with the hospital to kind of get the signage approved and all of that, what it looks like, and making sure that their logos meet their standards and so forth. And so with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Councilman?
City Manager Smith, I just have one question. The people that were putting the pickleball court and everything together, have they already discussed this?
Yeah.
With Good
Yes,
Shepherd?
this was brought, I mean, they met with Good Shepherd initially, and then we came in at the end to kind of formalize the agreement.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Councilor McCarthy?
Thank you, Mayor. I want to thank you, City Manager Smith, for including in your staff report where we talked about recently adopting a naming rights policy. I know that was partly put into process because of this going on. And I think it would just be worth answering the question, although I think most of us are aware, the rights to name the facility do not dictate ownership. This would still remain property of City of Hermiston through the Parks and Rec Department, correct?
That's correct. I mean, it doesn't change ownership of the property or the complex or the improvements or anything. It just gives them the chance to put their name on it and then to market that they have their name on it.
Public comment. Anybody from the public wish to speak, please? Lots of faces out there. Come on. All right. Last chance. Council comments. You guys have already thrown in a little bit, but Councilor Duran.
I think it's great, and I applaud how the hard work that the pickleball committee has done in fundraising based on the video that we saw from the recognition for Mr. Harrison. The video did include some information about the pickleball. And so my hat's off to you. I think the Hermiston School District should bring you on board whenever they go out for a bond in the future. But I mean, all kidding aside, I think it will do a lot of wonderful things for our community. I know that it has engaged a lot of people when they've been going to EOTech, and now having a good place here in the backyard will be so awesome. As I was going to work this morning, I also heard that there's going to be a tournament in Pendleton during Roundup, and so I was just thinking, wow, I wonder what the committee or the pickleball folks will come up with, to engage even other people to come to our area. So I just want to applaud the work that you're doing, and thank you, Good Shepherd Healthcare System, for the big donation.
Any other council comments? So my turn. Okay. Yeah, this is a nice thing. We love seeing the public involved. We just love seeing the donations for creating this. And Good Shepherd has always been a tremendous partner in everything that is the city of Hermiston. So they do right by us, and this looks like a good opportunity to do right by them. So the Good Shepherd pickleball court or complex. Boy, this is going to be a mouthful to say. But yeah, this is fantastic, and I cannot applaud all parties involved enough. So, action: approve the naming rights agreement as presented. Can I get a nomination?
So move.
Thank you.
Second.
Moved by Counselor Litton, seconded by Counselor McCarthy. Roll call.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
This is one of those that I wish I could vote yes on as well, because this is fantastic. I can't.
But half of us vote no.
Okay, yeah, no, no, no. Right, let's see. Sorry, I gotta keep notes, otherwise I will get lost. Okay, city committees and liaisons. Do we have any committee reports? Counselor Barone.
Counselor Kelso, City Manager Smith, and myself met for a EOTech committee. We're meeting quarterly, so we don't get to meet as often as we had in the past, but every time that we meet, there's a lot of good updates. So the barn expansion, that is complete, so we won't be kind of doing things while fair is going on. It should be done, good to go, and that was really exciting. For the field expansion, we had Mr. Swanson present uh, on kind of where we're at with Heroes. And so the city's helping try to find some state grants to be able to match a little bit of what they have for the remaining of the project. They still need to put up some lights and ADA restrooms as well that they're planning on putting in. As far as managing the Heroes, I think Parks and Rec is looking to help out in terms of any tournaments or future tournaments to try to support, the fields and try to get more people drawn into the facility. As far as operations update, we have a couple of people coming in, a couple of concerts coming in. Al's working with different promoters and bringing different people in. So we have Michael Salgado, who's coming in. He's a Texas Tex-Mex artist, so that should be pretty cool. There are a couple other people that the promoter has mentioned. I'm not gonna mention it right now because I don't want to mention it and then maybe it doesn't come to fruition. So we'll just kind of wait on that. But they are excited with a lot of the promoters that they're working with, hopefully bringing more regional people to the area. And one of the things that at least I feel really good about since I came on council in 2018, EOTech was handed over to the city a couple years around that area. And so one of the goals was to make EOTech operational, make it self-sufficient. And so there was a couple of curveballs that were thrown in our community, and COVID was one of the big ones. It's kind of hard to have an event center running when everything is supposed to be shut down. And so all that being said, EOTech's kind of been making a good come up and come back. And so I'm really happy to hear where we're at. Al's going to touch a little bit more on the financials the next time that we meet. But a couple of years already past COVID, it seems that we have things booking up more and more, different varieties of events that are coming into town, and even at times where it's supposed to not be as, or I guess, dead, right? It's not as back their seasons to EOTech, where there's more people that come in and more events that come in. And so even in the down times, Al's been able to find a couple of different people to host or different events to bring into EOTech. So it was pretty good to hear a lot of the updates. When we head to fair this year, again, some of us will notice there are going to be a couple solar panels too around the restrooms. Amazon has donated solar panels, and one of the projects that they did was out there at EOTech. So a couple of the restrooms now are just powered by solar panels, and so that was kind of a cool thing to see. So at least that's the update that I got, and it was a pretty good meeting.
Sounds like it was very productive. Counselor Roberts.
I attended the airport advisory meeting on the 5th. Pretty quick meeting, not a ton of business, but just overall update on the budget. So the fuel income versus expenditures looking good. So the overall budget for the airport's looking good. They are going to be looking at doing an upgrade of the ASOS system, which I had to look up again tonight, is the Automated Surface Observing System, which is basically the real-time weather that they get and communicate amongst the airports. There's some security issues and things in terms of ICT stuff that I really don't understand, but the new system will be more secure is what I'm told. The really neat thing about that is it's owned by the FAA, and so it's going to be paid for by the FAA, which is good for us. And then the last thing was the hangar project. The steel for the hangar is going to be arriving soon. All the building permits have been issued. And so that project is moving along. We should see some really rapid progress, hopefully in the very near future on that. That's all.
Excellent. Sounds very exciting. Others? Favorite.
I was at the Faith Base Advisory Committee this week. They're still trying to get the questions together for the survey that they're going to be sending out to the citizens in the city. And also the business license information came up. Manager Byron came and informed them all on the questions they had. And I gotta say thank you for that.
Councilor Drum?
We have not met as a Hispanic Advisory Committee yet, but at the last meeting that we had, it's great that now we're going to be opening it up for the chair folks to come and talk to us about the goals, because they just went through that process of setting the goals for the 24-25 year, and they're excited about the work. They want to be more integrated with the community. They want to continue to support those events that have brought our community together. And on February 16th, there's going to be an event, a resource fair for Spanish-speaking families on the 16th from 4 to 6 p.m. at the community center. And they're bringing an immigration attorney so that folks can hear updates of, any changes that might be happening, any information that will be provided to the families. So we hope that there's a good turnout. And just want to remind you that on February 13th, there's going to be a ribbon cutting ceremony for the basement renovation at the Harkenrider Senior Center. It's going to start at 4, should end by 5:30, and it'll be fun. We're inviting the community to be part of that. So mark it on your calendar from starting at 4 p.m. Brandon seems to think that maybe around 4:30 is when the ribbon cutting might take place, as people are coming from their workplaces and joining us for that event. So you're all invited for that.
Okay. Any other committee reports? Seeing none. Mayor's report. Well, ribbon cutting's covered. Reminder to all council, Lily put out a deal for the National League of Cities, Washington DC. What's it called? The Congressional.
Congressional
Yes.
City Conference.
Congressional City Conference.
Thank you.
Told you I didn't write it down. Remember that that's coming up. If you're interested in participating in that, please get a hold of Lily as soon as possible so that she can make the necessary arrangements.
And may I add on that, Mr. Mayor, we only have a limited budget left in the council travel, so may not be able to accommodate everybody, but we'll do our best.
So with that, if it's your first time going, it is a diminished rate for first timers.
Registry.
So still costs money. So decide whether or not that's something that you, whether you're truly interested in, because that is a bit of money to go quite a ways, but it is also good information and a good opportunity. So keep that in mind. The only other thing I have is a reminder that those of you with sweethearts, remember Valentine's Day is coming up. Don't forget anybody. So, Council President.
Speaking of Valentine's Day, also thank your florists. Maybe if you're free, offer to deliver for them or bring them cookies. I did that a few times, and I cannot tell you how much they appreciate that. I don't have a bunch to say, but I do want to recommend everyone, if you haven't had a chance to go see Charlie and the Chocolate Factory at the high school, they had their opening weekend performance. I loved a lot of the dialogue in that show. And if you have a chance, although it can't be for everyone, I won't say why, but maybe get an aisle seat. There you go.
That's a little bit disturbing. Okay. All right, council reports, anybody? Okay, Jackie first, she had her hand up first.
Okay, I just want to see if we can add to our upcoming agenda what was brought up tonight. I think those are two very important things that Pastor Hackett brought up about the license of the churches having to notify. I think that's something that we should discuss as an agenda item and vote on that. And then also with Mrs. Finch, the lights, street lights being put at the high school, that section there, I think that's a very important agenda item that we should also discuss and see if we can come up with being able to do that. And that's all I have.
Okay, so Counselor Linton has asked to have 2 items added to a future agenda. Is there anybody willing to?
Can we separate those just in case there's?
Okay, so in regards to the business license discussion regarding the
Amendment not to-
registration, the registration of churches in the business license.
I'll second that.
Okay, have 2. All right, so we got a second. Roll call.
Yes.
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 Okay, so that has been asked to have that placed on a future agenda, Mr. City Manager. And as it relates to a traffic light being placed at the South First or North First and Highland Avenue. South First?
It is south, yeah.
South, yes. Okay, thank you. Directionally challenged today, too. All right. I guess so. All right, so Counselor Litton has requested that be placed on a agenda item of the high school light being put in place.
Second that.
A question.
Question 2.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'm curious if it's specifically going to be related to a traffic light or if we can discuss all options for that intersection.
Counselor Litton, you're the one that brought it forward.
Okay, let's discuss all options.
Okay.
Thank you.
I think that needs to be a separate motion now, though, doesn't it?
No, it hasn't even
If
been
he
made a
agrees
motion
to the
yet.
second.
Yeah, I agree to the second.
If second agrees, then that's fine.
Okay,
I just kind of wanted to, I know in previous councils, we've talked about this issue before, and it's not because of a previous council's lack of wanting to move forward on this, but it's just been more of a traffic count that's not been able to meet there. So I'm not against having a conversation. I think it is important, especially if more people want to know about it. But I think in previous practice, when something like this has been come up, and there is already a response to it, then the city managers usually just address the citizen that brought up the issue. And so I'm just wanting to put that out there because I think this has been discussed in previous councils. But if we're willing, if we want to have a conversation about it again, then that's fine.
Counselor Jerome?
And I also want to know, our next meeting, will you have time to, do you have clear guidance as to what we need to revisit or what information you need to have in order for us to have a good discussion? Are you going to have enough time?
Well, I might put that item like a month away so we can do all the research that we need to, because there's a lot of engineering information that really apply to this discussion, and I understand the emotions and why we're trying to discuss this, but there's a lot of other factors that we need to bring forward as well. So I would plan to put that a month away, so more time to prepare. And the other item, I'll just need to look at the schedule and make sure I don't overload an agenda. So
Can I follow up with something?
Sure.
Is this also something that maybe the Oregon Department of Transportation will need to be involved in?
not directly. They are involved in discussions about traffic signals. but at this level, they won't need to be involved.
That is a city street.
Correct.
Not a state highway.
Correct.
Okay, so I want to make sure that we bring this, when we bring these forward to, for adding to the agenda, that isn't necessarily require that it is at the next agenda,
Correct.
the next council meeting.
Correct.
So the fact that we're bringing this forward just means it's going to be, on a future agenda as opposed to the next agenda. Okay, just make sure everybody understands that's the process. So, all right, so can I get a roll call for, it's been asked and seconded, motioned and seconded, so. can I-
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
And motion passes unanimously. All right. Any other council comments? Seeing none, we have no youth advisor today, so that one's done. Mr. City Manager, your chance.
I have nothing more. I was going to have a brief discussion about the NLC conference, but we already did that, so.
All right. So, we will now adjourn the city council meeting and invite all those who are present, including members of the public, to join a staff-led tour of the Harkenrider Senior Center to include the recently renovated basement. Also, at this time, I want to remind you that if you are going to, at the end of this, when we adjourn, Lily will be locking the doors, so don't take anything, or don't forget anything.
Don't leave anything. Right.
Because he may not unlock the door for you. With that, we are adjourned.
Yeah.
But you can't stay.
Done.